Hey, you. You're finally awake.
There are few games that have actually provided deep immersion and made me feel like I wasn't here in real life. But Dragon's Dogma 2 has done that. It has brought me to a world with incredible depth, exploration, and a mission that at first seemed impossible. But as we evolved and became stronger and stronger, we learned how to take down anything. Hey, I'm Caveman. In my first playthrough, all I did was focus on becoming a master wizard, playing only the mage, sorcerer, and trickster classes, or vocations as they're called in DD2. In this video, I'm going to share my thoughts on how they brought the magic back to these fantasy RPGs with the weightiness of these spells that actually feel like we're impacting the battlefield. It is my first review, so I'm going to share a little bit about me so you have a good understanding of my frame of view when I review a game. I'm a hardcore gamer. Throughout middle school and high school, I would wake up at 5 in the morning just so I could play PlayStation before school. I'd then sleep through classes, finish my sports, and do most of my homework. I would then go right back to the game until I was forced off. In college, I became so consumed by gaming, I almost didn't graduate. It took me 2 additional years to complete my programs because I was top 1% in ranked ladders for League of Legends and Apex Legends. I don't regret my decisions, but I also can't say I'm proud of them. But video games are more than just fun. They can expand your creativity, provide some of the strongest friendships that I personally have had in my life, and even sometimes provide a way to earn some income while playing them. Now, when I am considering if a game is good or bad, I don't care about its monetization model. I also don't care about social inclusion or diversity. I don't care about what anyone else says. The only thing that matters is, does this game make you feel immersed? Do you feel like you're in the game while you're playing it? Do the graphics portray an environment in a way that is believable? Is the world built so that it feels realistic? Can the gameplay engage me enough to keep my attention? And if there's multiplayer that's meant to be a part of it, does it actually add a competitive or social benefit? First, I'm going to jump into gameplay. This is the bread and butter of a game, and this is where DD2 shines. You get to select a vocation at the beginning of the game, which can be changed at any town as you progress if you want to test different things out. At the date of this recording, I have over 100 hours just in the wizard type roles, and this really only accounts for 1/3 of the different play styles. This game really does provide a multi-genre experience. Each vocation has its own feel and gameplay patterns that make them unique, providing hundreds of hours of replayability. Speaking just on what I played, starting with a mage, which is a hybrid of damage and support, where you can be the major healer on the team and still do some powerful elemental abilities. Capcom really did make each ability feel unique and powerful in its own situation. You can then evolve into a pure damage sorcerer, where you can unlock some of the most incredible spells I've ever cast in a video game. And when you finish your incantation, you feel like the magic is within you and you can annihilate anything that is in front of you. To do this, you have to buy yourself time, which brings me to the other main aspect of Dragon's Dogma, and that is the team of pawns, or AI-controlled party members. One is a pawn that you specifically control, level up, and equip, and the other 2 are selected from the rift that connects to every other player playing this game. You can search for specific pawns to perfectly balance out your team. In the case of a sorcerer, I'd often have a fighter or warrior that would hold the front line, while I incantate with my other pawns to summon a tornado or bring down the heavens. I would find myself learning what each creature is weak to, so I could have the perfect spell for each situation. I will mention that the mage and sorcerer classes are a little bit more simple and not as interactive. Most of the gameplay was built around setting up your team to protect you as you stood still, focusing on casting. This can be boring for some players, in which case I would suggest trying to find some faster vocation, but that's another incredible aspect of the game. There is a class for each playstyle. I then tried the trickster role, and this is one of the unique vocations where you can summon a clone, and it's all about redirection and luring your enemies away from your team so that they can do all the damage. I unlocked this vocation pretty early in the game, so it was actually quite hard because I was underleveled and my clone would basically die every time it got attacked. So I had to master evasion, which felt really rewarding over time as I learned the attack patterns of all the enemies. In general, Capcom makes the battles feel meaningful and engaging. Each monster type needed a different response. Some required a very specific elemental magic or pure knockdown force so that you could really do damage once it was on the ground. I do feel that the variants were lacking in differentiation for some creatures. Like, I still don't know what the difference is of an ogre versus a grim ogre or some of the griffin variants. Now, like the harpies, they did have some new looks and some new abilities, but they also still felt the same. The saurians were really the only creature that seemed to evolve as the game went on. In terms of difficulty, when this game first came out, you had influencers that were complaining about how the game was too difficult and the enemies were brutal, which they are, and I do love that aspect. But now they're making new reviews saying that after 100 or 250 hours, the game is too easy. Like, what do you expect? You are the Arisen, who has mastered all of your powers. That's how it should feel. But if you actually want to feel that difficulty, that challenge, just restart from zero and start with a new vocation. That's actually my plan for my next playthrough. I'm gonna go through as the Thief Archer and Magic Archer. I hear they're super fun to play. I personally loved how hard and punishing this game is at the start. You would see a Cyclops or an Ogre and you would feel terrified, as you should. This provided that incredible immersion. I felt like I was there in the battle, fighting for my life. As I ran underneath their legs to dodge an attack, I was clenching. And when I finally brought that beast down and the music gave you that little sound effect, it felt incredible. The experience from that battle was massive. It actually felt like each battle we grew as we learned how to take down these monsters. And each monster class felt that way as the game evolved. I remember the first time I stumbled across a Drake. Of course, I wanted to try and take it down early, but I quickly realized how outclassed I was. In fact, that was the first time I died so many times, I had to restart from an in-save. This may cause some debate, and maybe I'm just a masochist, but I loved the save system in DD2. There were so many people crying about it early on, it once again made you consider actually attacking a Drake before you were even close to being ready. If you died, you lose permanent health, and that would stack after each loss, eventually making it impossible to even just get back to town safely. I love having actual consequences to my decisions, and Capcom killed it here. Not only in combat, but with other NPCs. It didn't feel like I was playing GTA and could just go around killing everyone. I am the Arisen. I'm meant to be the defender of the people, and the game made me feel like that was my responsibility and my role, even if I did the wrong thing every now and then. Now, there are several side quests with different results, and it's incredible when player agency is properly implemented, and can even result in permanent changes in the game. Some of these are hidden and hard to find, but it just shows how much the design team spent on making the game feel real and deep. The graphics and level design also helped amplify that gameplay. Landscapes in general felt real and vast. You could get lost for literal hours. I personally believe this may be one of the best exploration games I've ever played. It felt important to check everywhere, but it wasn't always simple to find. It also didn't feel tedious like a Bethesda game where you could literally pick up everything. It has a near perfect balance. The foliage feels real, and when a Cyclops comes out of nowhere, it fully surprises you. You could stumble upon a well-hidden cave that almost blends in with its surrounding. The game has so many secret locations that are thoughtfully placed all over the world, making searching and exploring feel meaningful and exciting. The cities, on the other hand, felt a little small to me. I look back to Final Fantasy XII cities, which to this day feel so dense and real. It actually felt like I was walking down those busy streets with their unique art style and theme. The population of the cities in DD2 are still good enough to make it feel believable as you're walking down the streets and market, but it could have been greater. The visual effects, let's stop there for a moment, were just incredible. The magic and elemental effects worked perfectly. And when a status effect like a blaze or frozen took place, it was so cool to see them on your enemy. I remember the first time I cast Blizzard and caused a drenched Drake to freeze over. It was so satisfying. The storyline starts off incredible, and the way they incorporate our character in the cutscenes, like right off the bat, made me feel like I was really fighting for my freedom. I loved the missions and the direction of the lore all the way up until a specific point. Without spoiling anything, I will just mention it starts around when you collect an item known as the God's Bane. This is when I really felt like the game storyline just kind of fell off in quite abruptly. I'm not sure if it was just lost in translation or what, but I did not feel like we were doing what we as the Arisen were supposed to be doing at this point in the game. And this feels similar if you played Armored Core 6 and you beat the first ending and it felt a little bit weird, like we were helping the enemy in some way. To be honest, I really didn't care that the storyline got weird. I'd already had 80 plus quality hours in, and the gameplay and exploration was more than enough to keep me going. I'm going to move on to the sound effects, especially around combat, are amazing. Everything added to the current situation. The sounds of swords clashing or magic being casted, it all felt weighty and purposeful. I will say that music, the general tracks in the background, kind of lacked emotion and power. There wasn't any key song that really stuck out for me except the opening title music, which was good, but just not like some of the past JRPGs I've played. They could invoke excitement, anger, or could put you in a deep depression. They really could have integrated the music into the storyline and lore better. Performance was a huge debate early on and was a major point of reviews. Now, I have a laptop, a gigabyte laptop with a 3080, and was recording at the same time. The only time I really ran into issues was when I would cast Meteor or Whirlwind. These really hurt, and frame rates would drop, so I can understand some frustrations there, but for a game that is single-player RPG, I could have never cared about discussions around it being able to get 60 frames per second compared to 30 frames per second. It's not noticeable enough to break the immersion for me. Now, we were talking about Apex Legends or Armored Core 6, where even the smallest drop in frame rate or latency would be rage-inducing to the point where I'd want to uninstall. Yeah, that can happen, but not here in DD2. It worked fine with my setup. The game length is way longer than what the influencers stated. I personally think there's hundreds of hours worth of quality gameplay in here. I mean, sure, you could speedrun it pretty fast, but honestly, if you're liking what this game is providing, you can have countless hours changing vocations and going through the motions. There's just so much to explore. I actually have a friend who's been pushing it to get every Seeker token, these hidden tokens that are really, really well placed all over the world, and he's well over 200 hours, and the last time I talked to him, he only had 226 out of the 240 possible. There are also just so many side quests with different results that you'll have to restart the game to experience them. And if you really want to check out each vocation to the fullest, you're going to also need to restart from zero. And that can easily push it 200 to 300 hours pretty easily. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a game that I fully believe is worth that price tag. However, if you are a casual, cozy, light gamer, I would suggest having your mindset set ready for a challenge, because this game is difficult before you become that unstoppable god, but there is character growth, and if you can hold on, there's great satisfaction for beating this game. If you're just a gamer looking for a solid action fantasy RPG, this is one I fully recommend. Let me know how I did on my first review below. If you liked it, smash the like button, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys next time. Caveman logging off.